So can we have your name, sir?
Is it filming?
Yep.
Yeah, Kevin Stiffe.
And how old are you, Kevin?
Kevin, I'm knocking on 54.
No, 54. Just a young fellow, and I look in the mirror. First surfboard.
Oh, Bob Davies.
Was it Bob Davies?
About a 6'6".
Yeah. Where did you
Yeah.
get that from?
So, picked it up somewhere in Whangarei. I'd saved up my money working on a farm and got that when I was 14.
So was that how many fins did it have on it?
Oh gee, I think it had about 3 on it.
Oh, so was it, yeah. The thruster type.
I ended up getting 2 of them.
Yeah. Both Bob Davies.
Both Bob Davies.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, can't go wrong with Bob Davies.
No.
And so where did you start surfing?
Out at Ocean Beach.
Ocean Beach,
Yeah.
yeah. And what age were you roughly?
14.
14?
Yeah.
Yep, yep. So how come you started out there? Did you have a friend out there, or you lived out that way, did you?
Yeah, we moved out. I moved out there with my mum and my brother, and just up next to my uncle's farm, and his farm ran out onto the beach.
Yep.
At Proctor's side, and I used to work on the in the milking shed after school, and he'd take me out for a swim.
Yeah.
On the Nuffield tractor, and I'd watch all the surfers out there doing their thing, and sort of aspired to become one. And I ended up saving up my money and bought the Bob Davies, and we used to throw it in the old half-round barn out there at the beach and hide it away in the hay bales, and then we'd go out in the tractor and I'd drag it out, and I was only a learner surfer, of course, but so I'd go out there and paddle out, try and get out the back with Viv Tracy and Richard Langdon, and
Yeah.
yeah, can we? I'll just cut it.
Yeah.
I have to take this call.
You go for it.
Hello.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'll be out there with the likes of Viv Tracy and Richard Langdon, a few of the other boys, and started doing my apprenticeship in surfing there, I guess, and then I'd venture over now and again to Proctor's and along to Robbie Road.
Yeah.
Used to love it there.
Because there wouldn't be many guys out that side, really.
No, we used to go sneak through, well, we didn't sneak through, I knew one of the boys that was related to the Robinsons, so we'd get permission to go through there, but a lot of others would sneak through.
Yeah.
And sometimes we'd be the only 3 there, and just brilliant, have a break each. And
there's a lot of beach there where a lot of guys don't wander along there, and can get some beautiful waves.
Yeah, amazing.
So did you have a wetsuit in those early days, or what did you?
Well, no, not initially. I didn't. It was one of those things that I tried saving up for, but I was into so many different things like hunting and diving. I had to prioritise, and surfing was just one of those. It wasn't big for me then, it was just a hobby. So I bought a dive suit.
Yeah.
I ended up using that, but it was quite limiting, because it was a bit thicker. And
But you still managed to paddle all right?
Oh, yeah, it was a struggle. It was a struggle, and I didn't enjoy surfing. It was all about just getting out with the boys and kind of learning. I used to camp out there and do that, and do a bit of fishing and diving. So it wasn't until later that it really took off for me, but it was the start. Yeah.
Hey, talking about wetsuits, didn't you go to the South Island in the middle of winter and went out for a surf with no wetsuit? What happened? Did you forget
but
tell me that story.
Yeah, no, that wasn't intentional. I mean, that was just going down to visit my daughter, and she was at Otago at uni there, and I was going to camp at her flat the night, so I drove down from my brother's in Christchurch and got down there, but she was still working, so I chucked my bag in there and shot out the beach with the board, and realised when I got out there that I actually had the wetsuit in the bag. It wasn't just lying in the back of the wagon like they normally are, so
This is the middle of winter we're talking
it
about.
was June. It was June. It was there was icebergs. So I was at St Clair's, and there was about 5 people out, I guess, and so I paddled out, and I come across two young ladies there, and they looked at me because I was from the north, so I was all brown, because and they looked at me and one of them said, "Aren't you cold?" And I said, "No, I'm past that. I've gone numb." And I got axe head, I called it. You know, when you put your head under and you're splitting headache. And anyway, I caught a few waves because I was pretty numb. But then I didn't realise I started. I got out, I was shaking, and I remember scratching the door with the key trying to get it in, and then
early stages of
I
hypothermia.
was like a maniac driving back to the flat. You know, it was all over the road, and I ended up getting in, leaving the board out in the street. I couldn't get it off the roof, couldn't get the knots undone. So I sat in that shower for it seemed like days. You know.
And you must have been damn
cold. I was close to
just as well you
not making it.
Yeah. Best surfboard. Have you had a surfboard that you really loved and you probably sold? What is your best surfboard?
Oh, well, my best surfboard really is the one that I have got now. Yeah. Or one of the ones I've got now. But the one I mainly surf now, because my surfing's got better and I've got better, and I've refined the boards to what I'm comfortable with. But I guess a favourite would be one I guess that I bought a Jim Banks. It's an Aussie board, and I bought it down in Gisborne when I was on a sporting trip, and it's when I got back into surfing because I had a 10-year break, and I teamed up with a mate from Kawakawa Fire Brigade, and we'd go off surfing, and I had this Jim Banks, which was about a 6'11", I think, or 6 something, and it was a gun, and it was a favourite because I was getting back into it, but I used to just thrash it, you know. I love kind of bigger waves, so I just get out there and give it death, and you know I'd get hammered heaps, and the board did too, you know. I was forever getting it fixed. It was, and I only had one, so I'd get it fixed, and while I was getting fixed, I was off doing some hunting or fishing or whatever. But now I sort of had that 10-year break because I had kids, and I moved up north, and I was 3/4 of an hour away from the water. Yeah. Well, I was spoiled being at Ocean Beach. It was just down the road, and 3/4 of an hour. I thought, oh no, I gave it away for 10 years. But and then.
So what are you riding now?
Well, I've got my main board is a 9.2 Roger Hall. Yeah, one of the competitor series.
That's a competitor.
Yeah, and it's a competitor. And I've got a few other boards that
you mostly jump
onto them now and again, but
So you used to go surfing Wyoming, that's open anyway quite often.
That's cool. Yeah, Waimamaka was one of my favourite getaway spots. It was like the big OE or something, you know. It's like my mate and I used to. Well, I used to surf at Elliott's out of Russell because I worked there, and it was 14 minutes away on the metal road. So very lucky there. But that's where I mainly surfed, and I'd head off now and again, Taupo Bay and so forth. But I do my shippies run now and again. But
you still go up to shippies here now, don't you?
Yeah. But Waimamaki was a favourite. It was that ruggedness of the west coast, and I had friends batch over there, so we'd stay there, and so we'd go over there and damage my board a few times myself. But
get a bit of shellfish as you come back and
I always got fish or shellfish. I never come back without it. If I got over there and the waves weren't right, I was going to get some shellfish or fish.
Best ride? You ever had one of those days where the surf's just been fantastic? You probably had a lot, but there's something stand out in that.
I guess I keep saying now and again that that was my best ride, and that was my best ride, and I guess I can look back on a lot, but actually, I don't remember now, but say 2 months ago, I went up to Shipwreck Bay, one of my favourite haunts, being a goofy foot, and I got out there and I was getting these 200-metre rides, about 4 of them, and I've just come back from a knee operation, so I was feeling quite good because I was getting these rides and just...
That's a long way.
And a long wave, and I'd paddle back, and I was fortunate there was hardly any wind and not much current, so you get back there eventually and have a good rest and away you go. But I happened upon I love the bigger sets, you know, so I got onto this huge wave, and I ended up with about a 500 metre ride, right around into the next bay, and 3/4 of that ride I was just, you know, hooting and yahooing, and I was just wrapped, and then I just started getting exhausted, you know, your legs had it, and your arms, and I ended up coming into this beach, and then I had to walk all the way back, and I thought, I'm not going to do one of them again, because it was just a mission, eh?
You should have had someone on a quad bike to take you back out again.
Yeah, and I frown on jet skis, but I thought, I wish I had one that day.
What do you think made you take up surfing? You just saw the fun that other guys were having? I like having a go at everything and anything. It doesn't matter whether it's, you know, collecting butterflies or whatever. And I used to collect lots of things, and it was just another thing to collect. You know, I was very fortunate that I spent these years out at Ocean Beach with my relations, and I was presented with another opportunity, you know, so I thought, well, I have a go at it, you know, and you can just put it on the shelf with all the other things that I like doing, and really, it wasn't a big thing for me. It was just one of the things I enjoyed, and it was actually harder work than going hunting and fishing, you know. It was just hard work, paddling. I wanted to be like those other guys, but they were there every night, and I wasn't. Yeah. But they weren't doing things I was doing, you know. They weren't out hunting after school and fishing and that. They were just surfing all the time.
And they were surfing all the time. They got real good, but I never wanted to be number one or anything. So it took me many years to really find out that I could actually surf reasonably good, you know, and just reasonably, and then I'm happy with that. Yeah.
Surf heroes? Did you have any surf heroes? Who did you look up to in those?
Well, I guess in those days, you know, the likes of, just to name a few, like Viv Tracy, Richard Langdon, Chris Hislop, Mark Uppendall, those boys were out there, and I used to watch them, and I thought, wow, I like to do those moves.
Wonderful surfers.
I don't think I ever did. Yeah. Oh, they were great surfers, you know, and they represented New Zealand, Northland. But as I say, I moved away and from them, and I've met them all again in recent years, you know, all older, but and they were guys that I thought, you know, I sort of want to be like them. But then I started reading the mags, and a lot of these Aussie guys, and Jerry Lopez and all that. I thought, oh yeah, big wave riding, and you start thinking, oh, I'm going to do that one day, you know. But I never got to Hawaii, and I'm only just starting to go to Aussie now. But yeah, I eventually got overseas a few times and surfed over there.
So you worked in Samoa for what, nearly a year?
Yeah, I was there.
Tell us about that. What was that like?
Well, I was there 8 months, and I was quite excited about working there because I knew there was surfing, I knew there was diving, and possibly other things that I enjoy. Amateur photographer, so I like blah blah blah. So I actually took. I don't think I took a board initially. I thought my first stint was 2 months, and I thought I'll get over there, and I had some colleagues over there that were surfing, and I'll get over there and I'll just see how it goes and borrow a board and whatever. But it just so happens that I landed on a day which I had to do orientation. The next day was day off, and we only had 1 day off a week. So everyone in our house went surfing and spearfishing. Yeah. So I borrowed a board off Steve Bowling. That's right. A 7
you took
footer.
That over?
I took that over. Yes. Yeah. And it was dinged up to the max, but that was fine, you know. And it was just something to start on because the reefs were pretty gnarly, I heard, and I thought, well, he said that it was dinged and it didn't matter too much. So yeah, that's right. I took that over.
And that served you pretty well.
And well, it did initially. I was lucky enough on that first Sunday to go to a place called Boulders. Yeah. And we got out there, and the first little spot you come to was called Skin Graft, which I found out later why they called it that. And we would we'd park up there and surf the Skin Graft, and we'd have a spearfish first until the tide changed, and then we'd go out and have a surf. And I actually got one of my best photos of myself that someone took was while I was out there. And actually, what's funny about it is I decided to go for a spearfish. I came back late from spearfishing, and the other guys had something to eat, and then we headed out for a surf.
Yeah.
By the time I'd had a rest and something to eat, and I started going out there, they were coming in, and one of the guys had taken a big chunk off his back, hence the skin graft, and he'd done it before, so I was starting to be a bit worried because I was left out there on my own, and I didn't know the reef at all, and I never surfed Samoa.
So it was a fair way off the...
Oh no, it was 100 metres out.
Yep, yep.
And I was left out there on my own. I ended up not liking it really, you know.
Just because you're by yourself?
Oh, it's just I could see the bottom when the waves soaked up, you know, and all the coral heads, and I never surfed over.
Yeah.
So I was a bit worried, and I thought, oh, I shouldn't actually do this, but I never give in, and I don't like... I'd never paddle in without getting a wave.
Yeah.
You know, it's just not done, so... I ended up waiting for the biggest set, and I sat way out the back, and this huge wave came, and I got on it, and I tell you what, I did this massive drop, thought I was going to disappear, and I made it along it, and these guys snapped the photo. It's an incredible photo, and I'm just zooming along the wave, looking like a pro, but I was fair pooping myself, I tell you, I was rigid, eh? Yeah.
So when you're looking down at the coral and the line...
Oh no, I didn't want to look down. I remember turning, and I was just sort of like this, and whoa, and then I got through to the end and off the end, and then I just paddled in. I only got the one wave, and then I got in there, and they said, "Oh, it was incredible. Why don't you get some more?" You know, but I didn't tell them I was scared. I just said, "Oh no, I'm a bit tired from skin."
So this is a fairly sizable wave we're talking about.
Oh yeah, it was. Oh, I don't know, 6 foot, 6
overhead.
foot or something, overhead, well overhead.
Yeah.
I got the photo to prove it. But then in the afternoon, the boulders is across the bay, that picked up, and they were huge.
Yeah.
And I got some good rides there.
Yeah.
And I actually got my first injury there as well.
So what happened?
Oh, I just, I fell off a few times. They were huge waves, and there was a whole lot of Americans had turned up, about 11, 12 of them, and they come right in front of us and started taking over the waves, because some of them were pretty hot, eh?
Yeah.
So we ended up just going right out the back and just taking risks to get a wave, you know, and I caught this wave and got on it. It was a huge wave, and it sucked up so much water that I could see all the coral, so I shot along, and then I was starting to enjoy the wave, because I was getting along, and then I get along the end, I see these bommies and the coral heads in front of me. I had nowhere to go. I was just history, and so I shot up the wave to get over the back, but it was lipping, and it smacked me back down, and I dived between the coral heads, and I went down underneath, and you couldn't see anything. You just hoped you weren't going to hit your head, and my leash caught onto one of the coral heads and stopped me dead in my tracks, and it pulled me up. And my foot went down on top of the coral head and took the top of my toe off, you know, and it wasn't until, and I got out of there, I managed to get out of there, and it was enough, but over the next week, you know, I didn't realise, but the infection set in, and I had to go into hospital and get all the...
So what, antibiotics and that sort of thing to clear up?
They're nasty, so that sort of made me think about things over there a little bit more, and...
So were out any other names that you surfed in around Samoa? Or
I went down to Coconuts and Salanis and Mulavai, and I went out to Mulavai, and it was quite neat, 'cause I'd heard that you could, to get out to the reef there, there's a little left-hand break. You could hire a little dugout canoe, and this young lad would take you out and drop you off in the water, and you'd say, "Oh, I'll come back in 2 hours." You know, you only paid him about $7, and he'd come back in 2 hours, and if you got injured or tired, you'd have to make your way back. It was like 200 metres out, and you'd have to paddle back in, but it was just the experience of going in the canoe, you know, it was quite cool, eh?
Yeah, classic.
And no, it was just the whole, I got a few more injuries along the way, but then I went over to, I used to work around both islands, so I'd surf up in Satuia Tour, which is right up the top of Sawai,
Yeah.
and a couple of other little spots over there, Anganoa and...
So you really surf
got
most of
around.
the good spots.
Yeah.
And now, I just while you're talking about Samoa, before the big earthquake and tsunami, you were only there like a week before or something, weren't you? Well,
yeah,
not long
but
before.
that was, I'd come back and then we decided to go over for holiday with friends, and I can't remember, it was for I had my 50th birthday over there, and we had our holiday there, and then we got home, and 3 weeks later,
3 weeks.
where we were staying,
Yeah.
that got decimated, just wiped out, and we knew the people and the friends, and we knew a lot of the people that died passed on, just because we'd holidayed there 3 times, and so we went back, you know, the following year. And
how the people there after that, were they pretty resilient type of people, or?
Some are, some aren't. I mean, some moved up to the high country. They didn't want to stay down the beach anymore. Some moved over across the islands back into Apia, into the town. And some because of their businesses and their, I guess, their land, and they need to grow food on it. They needed to try and stay there, and so they sometimes they'd grow stuff, but they'd live up on the hill. You know,
So, what sort of car were you driving around? Your first car? What was your first car?
My first car was a Fiat Crusader.
What? Sorry.
Fiat Crusader.
Fiat Crusader.
And it was a little box car, and it was quite racy.
Did it have the rear engine or engine in the front?
Oh, engine in the front. But it was, I called it on the dash it had milli-cinquecento, which I think something meant 1500 cc and blah blah blah. So I had this car, and I gave it death, you know. And the great thing about it in those days was the roads out to the beach were metal, and it didn't matter where you went, whether you went out to the heads or out Mangawai, and I used to drive like the clappers, and half the time my boards would bounce off the car and end up on the road, you know, so I wasn't damaging them in the surf, they were damaged on the roads.
Getting there.
So anyway, but if I spun out, 9 times out of 10, you'd still be on the road. It was so short that it would just spin, you know. It didn't have the weight like later on. I had a Holden HQ, and that would slide off the road on the corners, Metaperi corners, I think. Been a few cars off them in those days.
I don't think people nowadays realise how rough the roads were. They would just kill us.
Not at all.
All the corrugations and that.
And that's why, and we didn't have the type of tie downs either. You know, we had a bit of bailing twine off the farm, and the boards would just shudder on the corrugations, and they'd come flying off.
Favourite New Zealand surf trip? I know you've been surfing around New Zealand, different places. You ever really struck it lucky when you'd done a New Zealand trip? Found some good waves?
Yeah, I did a trip with my wife. I don't remember how long ago. We'll say 10, 12 years ago now, around the North Island. And it was one of those trips I wanted to do when I was about 20. But it never happened, you know. And so my wife and I made it happen, and we had a ute, a Nissan ute at the time, so we strapped a couple of boards onto that and all the camping gear, and our intention was to start off at Raglan, and so we went down, stayed with friends, and started off at Raglan, and take about 2 weeks to go right around, visit family and friends, and surf as much as I could without you know, and taking into account that my wife had to go and look at a few flower gardens and whatnot, but there was no way we were going to go into the cities, you know. It had to be on the coast, no inner stuff.
Of course,
you could go to the Foursquare, and that was about it. But so away we went, and we started off at Raglan, and I got it really good at Raglan to start with, you know. And then every day for 13 days, I had a surf. And I think the smallest was about 3 foot at Whakatane on the river mouth, and the biggest would have been 7 foot at 2 places, Stent Road, and Gisborne at is it Wainui Bay? Wainui Bay in the centre, Allen's Beach or something, but
that
just huge. It was scary for me then, you know, I wasn't really...
That's pretty lucky to get surf so consistent, like, you know, you can go on a trip
absolutely
and find nothing for weeks. So.
And I only broke one board. So it was coming in on the beach actually, but and
only broke one board.
Yeah. Only broke one board then.
Yeah.
I've done a lot more since, but I took 2 boards, so I had a backup, and
What's the stupidest or the funniest thing you've seen on the way to surfing or going surfing? Anything stand out?
I'll tell you a little story. It's a bit of a naughty story, but it happened to me. I was on the way to surfing.
Yep.
And this is out at Mangawai, and I was staying at the beach with 3 other mates, and they didn't surf. So they were going to go snorkeling out there, and I was going to go surfing. But I decided to go early in the morning, and they'd come later. And we were going out by the main beach at Mangawai there.
Yeah, Mangawai.
Surf club. Yeah. And on the way, there was this car came up behind me. It was a Cortina, and had these guys in it. They weren't surfies, but they were in it, and they come up beside me. It was a metal road, and they wanted to race me.
Oh, I see, yeah.
You see, so they come up beside me, and yeah, come on, and they had the window down, and I didn't want to race, you know, and so they pull in front of me, and then put the brakes on and make me sort of stop, and I was getting a bit agitated at this stage. Yeah. My little car could fair go, I knew I could give them a good run, but I was worried about my boards a bit, you see. So I sort of pulled over and just stopped, and they started hassling me, hassling me anyway. They took off and went round the corner, and then I came round the corner and they pulled off and started again. Well, I got annoyed with it, so they were right beside me, So I ended up, I just shunted them off the road. Because my car had a lot of things and I didn't care, so I just shunted them off the road.
So they went right off the road?
They went along the gutter, the drain, shooting along the drain, and then hit the farmer's culvert, shot up in the air, landed on his driveway. And I pulled up, and they all jumped out of the car, so I carried on, and I shot out the beach, and went out for a surf. And when I came in, my mates were there, and when I came in, these guys had turned up, and they were talking to my mates as I walked up to them, and they were asking who the red car belonged to, and my mates said, and I'd already talked to my mates about what had happened, and then my mate said, oh, that's that guy out there in the surf on that board over there, so they shot off down the beach, and I just jumped in my car and took off back to the bad shape.
So they never found out?
They never got me, no. So I decided to go home early, a day early.
So their car was just wrecked?
Oh, it turned out it ripped the sump open.
Oh, good one.
Yeah. Oh well.
So Kevin, when you first started surfing, what sort of music were you listening to? What did you have cranked up on the radio?
I loved Dire Straits.
Yep.
Supertramp and Santana were my mate, and another one which has just surfaced lately. I used to play this guy called Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Quite funny. He's just surfaced again on the news.
Yep. So that's
a bit of a story about it. But so they were the main ones.
Yeah. So you're off to Aussie in a couple of days. Where are you heading for in Aussie?
Yeah, I'm heading up to Port Hedland.
Yep.
Up in Western Australia on the coast up there. And
how long are you away for? This stage?
A year.
A year.
Yep. A year stint, and
so you're going to catch some waves over there?
Well, I think the only way I can do it, I'm going to Perth first, catching up with a mate who I used to surf with at Waimamaku, Inch, and I would love to sneak down to Murray River.
Oh, Margaret River.
Margaret River, yes. I'd love to sneak down, but it's a bit of a trip.
It's a trip from Port Hedland,
no, just from Perth.
Oh, from Perth,
if I could sneak down there, that'd be good, but I don't know if it's going to happen, so we'll see later. But other than that, I'm not intending on taking my surfboard to surfing because I need to buy a vehicle and then drive up. But when I get some holidays later, Tina and I want to go over to Bali.
Yep.
So that's where.
So you've been to Bali before?
Never been.
Oh,
A lot of my mates have, and I've heard about it, but no. So I think that's the best thing for me at this stage. Yep.
Okay, now tell me, you must have had some surf accidents. What's your worst one? You talked a little bit about, but have you ever had anything bad?
No.
Did you tell me the story? Did you knock a guy out one day up Shippies? Tell me about that one.
Yeah. I've had a few accidents to myself, but yeah, I did. I got up there and gone out right at Peaks there, just around from Shipwreck Bay, and I'd gone out there, and this chap had dropped his son off, and then he drove on to another surf spot, and his son was only 12.
Yeah.
And there was some decent waves rolling in through there. I was getting some big rides, and this little kid, he paddled out on his own, shortboard, and the first wave hit him and knocked him off balance and nearly took him into the rocks. And then I actually caught the next wave, and as I rode along it, this kid came out right in front of me, and I tried to turn away from him, but the wave turned my board back the other way, and it hit him in the side of the head, right on his ear, and split it open. Yeah. And I just jumped off my board, even though the waves were coming, and I knocked this kid out for a while, face down in the water.
Just
dragged him off his board.
Brigade training and
dragged him off his board, and I had to get this other guy to come in and grab his board and my board. I just left them, and he managed to get them back out behind the waves, and I took this kid in, even with the waves hitting the rocks, and I took him in, and we just went straight up onto the rocks in the swell. Yeah. And he had a wetsuit on.
Was he all right?
He was a bad split, and my sister-in-law was there, and she's a nurse, so I took him to her, and we had to go and drive and find the father.
Oh, so
and luckily the kid came round, and then I made them go to the hospital in Kaitaia, and they kept him in there for 4 hours and stitched him up, and then I checked on him later on to make sure he was all right. It ruined my day, It ruined my week.
Yeah, what do you
I
think
felt
about it?
terrible, because I didn't know whether something would happen to him later on, but
he came right.
His father rang me and said that he was fine. But
so you must have another funny story somewhere in there. I know you've been surfing for a long time. Tell me, what about breaking boards? Did Roger Hall supplied you with a new one because someone took a photo of one of your...
Yeah, I'd heard about the big swell coming and waiting for the big swell, and I was tossing up whether to go to Sandy Bay or to Ruakaka. So I ended up going to Sandy Bay, but I got out there and it just wasn't right, the wrong direction, and then someone had told me that Ruakaka was going off, so I shot in my van and got around there, and it was just going off. And there's quite a bit of wind, but it was
just
a
grunty wave.
It was so fast.
Yep.
And a lot of shortboarders out there doing stuff, and I was tossing up whether to take the longboard out or not. But I thought if I could get onto a few of them, it was just perfect,
Yeah.
I got out there, and it was hard work, getting out, and with the wind and everything, and I got on a couple of waves, and then I ended up getting on this wave and deciding I wasn't going to take it, and I tried to pull out, but it sucked my board over.
So it went over the falls.
Yeah, and I dropped, and when I came up, I had two boards. two boogie boards, and so I came in, and unbeknownst to me, there was a cameraman up there taking photos of all the good surfers, and then he took one of me walking out with my two half boards, and then he put them on the net there somewhere, and Roger must have seen it, and he gave me a call and said that they shouldn't have broken, and so he made me a new one. So
I'll take your head off to Roger.
Oh, absolutely! I was blown away, because I was going to ring him up the next day and order a new board for myself. So and I tell you what, he said, "Oh, what type of board do you want?" And I said, "Identical." Identical, because I was so happy with it, and that's what I got today. Oh, and I'm still riding that new board, and it's my favourite. And I love it. I just take it up to Shippies or down to Raglan. I love Raglan. And
so that's hard to explain, but why do you think you enjoy surfing so much? What's it about surfing? I've asked a lot of people this question, and we all give slightly different answers, but you know, it's just a feeling. It's hard to explain, isn't it?
To me, it's about like attitude and your emotions. So some people go go out surfing when they're angry or annoyed about something, and it's to get away.
Yeah.
And they go out there and they think about things, whatever. Some people go surfing when they're really happy.
Yeah.
And things can happen out there and it can change you, And if you go out there with a bad attitude, things will annoy you out there. You know, you'll pick up on bad vibes, things that people do and whatever. So sometimes it's better to go out if you're angry on your own. And
no one wants to be with you.
And think about things and sort things out. But I guess to sum it up for me, I love the challenge of something new, some bigger waves. But I'll go out on a small day and just chill and catch up with the boys and have a good yak.
Yeah.
On a big day, I can't be bothered with the yak. It's a quick talk and I'm into it, But on a little day, just chill, catch up with the guys, see what they've been doing, where they've been, and I love the company, and I love yakking to people I don't even know.
Yeah.
I've gone up to Shippies and made some good friends.
Yeah.
Just by running into them and having a yak, And some
you'll
people
probably run into them
sometimes.
years later somewhere else.
And I have done.
Yeah.
Oh, it's amazing, eh?
Yeah.
And
So favourite? Where do you head for if you're going to go for? What's your favourite break?
Well, my very favourite is Shippies. I mean, there's no getting away from that. But with Shippies, it's about convenience. If you're working, it's when you can get it off and whatever. But lately, I've been able to adjust my work to suit, so I've been quite lucky, and I've been going up there a lot.
Yeah.
Sandy Bay is my convenient.
Yeah, because the closest.
My convenient place. I can go back to Ocean Beach, but I used to work out Sandy Bay for 4 years, so I know people and I know the area and I know the break, so it is probably my preferred break locally. Yeah.
Excellent. Any other things you
but
want to say?
I do want to say one thing. I mean,
go for it.
And it's about you, Laurie. I mean,
no.
Yeah, it's not about you as such as a person, but when I got back into my surfing, and I didn't love it as much as I do now, and it wasn't really till I started longboarding. And back years ago, you rang me up once, and you I met up with my sister again, and my sister's your wife, and so I met up with her, and then you'd arranged to come up north. We were going to meet out at Elliott's Bay there, and you turned up with the family, and
Christy and Simon came with us that day.
Yeah, Christy, Simon, and your boy.
Yeah.
He was there, and you had this longboard, this beautiful longboard, and I fell in love with the colours of it more than anything. It was a rainbow board, and so you let me have a go on it. And of course, it was just so different to a shortboard that I've never really ridden a longboard before, like the lightweight one anyway. And I just enjoyed it so much that I chipped away at you. If you ever sold it, I'd buy it. And so I saved all my scrap metal money, and
I hope I sold it to you for a decent price.
In the end, you wanted to get a new board made by Rogers, so I bought it off you.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, once I got on that, and it was mine, I was away.
Yeah.
And that got me going with longboarding, and I eventually decided that I'd get a custom-made board, and I got a big paint job done on it. It was all fancy, Wombury heads.
That was beautiful paint job.
Yeah. And I designed a logo for the front, and it was an amazing looking board, but it didn't take me long to snap that one, And
so you still got that board at
I
home?
still got it up in the roof there. Yeah. I don't think I'll ever get rid of it. And it could be my coffin lid one day, but
it's such a beautiful artwork. You could hang that on any wall, and then people would like it.
It was incredible. I actually won a board cover in a competition in one of the New Zealand surf magazines with it. So that was cool. And then I decided I'd go the Roger Hall way. Thank you, Roger. And And I bought my bought my first board through him, and I got an 8-footer made.
Yep.
And then I got a 9.6 made, and then I got a 9.2 made, and then I got a year or two ago I got a what they call a sea creature made, and that's a 6.9.
Yeah.
Just wanted something a bit wider and a bit fatter like me, and so I got a complement of boards there, and I'm happy now.
A board to meet all the occasions, eh? Yeah.
But really, when I go away just to shippies, I'll take 2 boards.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll take 3 if it's really big day, and I think, oh, I could break my 9.2. I'll go out on the 9.2, and then later on, after a good rest, I'll go and jump on the 6.11. So I'm happy. But I've got about a few broken boards. I've broken about 4 boards over the years, and a lot of it hasn't been to do with so much. 2 of them have been the big waves hitting the boards, but a couple of them have been coming into the shore, where it's pitched me and then hit the shore. And
just got to get the right conditions to break a board.
Well,
it can be on a 2-foot wave, or it can be on a 15-foot wave.
And my worst experience was going out and then saying hey to the height of the guys at Sandy Bay as I was getting out there, and then I turned to catch a wave and broke my board.
Yeah.
I hadn't even caught a wave. That was very embarrassing.
That's the
worst bit of it. Walking back up the beach with your broken board in front of everyone at the car park.
Did you see that?
Oh no! What happened? Oh yeah, fell off a 12-foot wave.
All right, that's choice, Kevin. Thank you.
Thanks, Laurie, for getting me into that, and
Nah, it's a pleasure.
haven't looked back, mate.